Is the buff enough to get Roadhog back up into a viable position in the meta? Or is that crippling smash to his hook combo just too much for anyone to handle? Let's find out today if using Roadhog is even capable on Is It Viable. Those of us who remember Roadhog remember him as a tank DPS with a one-shot ability that was just too damn strong. And so Blizzard came along and they nerfed this so that he could no longer do it. And now people are crying about it because they can no longer kill things as Roadhog. Now, they went ahead and they made him more tanky by letting his take a breather ability then have an awesome ability to just not only heal him but also allow him to move, much like Bastion, and also give him a defense buff so that he was taking 50% less damage while he was using it. Now, is this enough to go and make him viable? That's a whole different question. Let's start with some of the basics as to how to use Roadhog now. Stick with your team. Now, the old Roadhog was very simple. You could easily flank anything that was bothering you, one-shot hook kill it, and then that was the end of it. It was a great ability, and you could catch anyone off guard and kill off anything that was pestering you or your team. Now, though, you lack the DPS to do these things. So stick with your team, call out your shots, and let them know that when you hook something that they should also focus it down. This helps a lot more if you have a Zenyatta on team who's marked targets for you. That being said, though, that doesn't mean you aren't completely unable to kill anything on your own. You can, generally speaking, kill anything just through sheer survivability. Outlast, not out DPS. What does this mean? Well, the old Roadhog was very simple. You would hook something and you'd kill it. It wasn't especially hard. Now, though, it's all about his survivability. The fact of the matter is that even though he doesn't have armor or shields or anything that would normally make him survivable because of that new take a breather ability, he is incredibly difficult to kill, which makes no sense for such a large target. But because of this, though, he can generally outlast nearly anything around him. Even though he doesn't have the ability to go and kill anything one-on-one, he can generally outlast any target he needs to. Anything like a Tracer who is just being annoying and has used her recall, or any kind of soldier after he's used his canister, is just as good of a target. You can outlast them, you can generally not out DPS them because they will be doing more damage into you, but you can make sure you don't die in the process. This being said, if you're going to one-on-one duel, I would highly suggest making sure it is in fact one-on-one and that the target in question is not something to overall burst damage. You will not be able to take on any Reapers, you will not be able to kill a Widowmaker unless she manages to pull herself too close to your hook, and you won't be able to kill any Pharah unless she is too dumb and decides just to get that close to you. With that being said, though, you're still better off being with your teammates. The more DPS together that you can knock into an enemy, the faster it's going to kill them. So you should, even if you can outlast them, you should still be able to kill it. Maybe not alone, but with the help of team members. As seen above, as I survive a full Pharah ult. So then how should you play Roadhog? That's easy. Control the pace. Now, Roadhog has always been about punishing missteps and punishing people who decide to go off on their own like flankers. But now you have a much different position. You have to be able to go and control the pace of the enemy. Whenever you see a chance to go and make an easy grab, you should take it immediately, and then let the enemy know that your team is there to go and back you up. Anyone who overextends through your team should never have an easy chance of getting through there. In fact, whenever they decide to get onto your point, your team should be ready to go in and distract them as well. You can generally outlast any singular flanker who comes at you, barring a Reaper or a really ridiculously good Sombra. You should be able to outlast anyone who decides to get onto your point and communicate with your team that you need help. Communication is king. Now, we have to actually butcher the old saying so that people will understand it. You have to go and communicate with your team. You can't simply walk off on your own and kill things like you did before. Now that you have decent survivability and the ability to run away as you heal, as well as that damage mitigation, you should use it to your advantage for as much as possible. You should be able to go and survive things. You should be at the front with your Reinhardt with your team, and whenever possible, pull an enemy behind that Reinhardt shield and just deny any amount of help from the enemy team. So with that being said, you need to be able to communicate. Even if you can't communicate, you should let people know of what's going on around them. Roadhog is no longer the flank and kill character. He is now the let me see who is going to be out of position and make them regret it. You have to let everyone know when someone has decided to go too far. You have to let everyone know when someone is behind them, and you have to be prepared to go and take care of any flankers. In not a death position, but at least pestering, annoying, aggravating, whatever you want to call it. You need to be able to make sure that they regret every second in which they are behind your line. Is Roadhog viable? Well, that's really up to the player at this point. Roadhog is incredibly powerful if used in the right context. The only problem is we've all gotten too into our ways on how Roadhog should play, instead of seeing the new way that he should be played now. With that being said, you are no longer a major threat, so most people are not going to focus you down. They don't realize how much power you can put into them until it's too late. Your job is no longer to cause the most amount of damage and kill squishies. It's to pull people out of position and let your team, as well as yourself, punish them for what they've decided to do. You can now outlast anything that's attacking you, as opposed to before, where if you decided to go and heal yourself, you were just one giant ult battery. Is that problem still there? Probably. If you sit there taking damage and just healing through it all the time, you're going to have a bad time. You should still try and get away from damage when possible. But if you can't, screw it. You know, if a Tracer is pecking into you, just use your heal. There's no reason not to. The Tracer's going to get her ult super fast anyway. But if something larger, like a D.Va, is pegging into you, I would suggest not trying to heal through it. I was just letting it die. You need to think about your positioning now as more of a control tank than a kind of damage tank. The damage tank position is now currently fielded by D.Va or Winston. More so when D.Va gets her new way of playing. I'm actually very interested in seeing how that will work out, as everyone has had too much time with Defense Matrix now, to the point where we're not really sure how to use her without it. So I'm very interested in seeing how that goes. But Roadhog is very viable in a team context, as well as a one-for-one free-for-all context, as you can generally heal through most things, and also just for team deathmatch. Now, would he work in every single situation? Absolutely not. Roadhog still needs a viable viable main tank to go and use him as a secondary tank. So if you have an Orisa or a Reinhardt, use Roadhog, run through. If your main tank is a Winston or D.Va, it's a lot more iffy. You will not have the survivability to go and outlast 4, 5, 6 people shooting at you at the same time. But if you can deal with that, you can usually win the overall fight and punish anyone who decides to do ult. That was a great grab, by the way. But yeah, that's really it. You have to think of yourself as more control and less full-on damage. Because if you think of yourself as full-on damage, you're just going to have a bad time. This has been DM with the new segment called Is This Viable? If you guys liked what you heard, please like, subscribe, and put comments below. I will listen to your comments. I'll read them over along with their constructive criticism. You sit there telling me you suck, Roadhog sucks. I would like to hear the reasoning why. And if your reasoning is because he can't do damage, we've already gone over the reasons to get around that. So, not being constructive at that point. Yes, he's no longer a solo tank character, but frankly, this is a team-based game. You should probably be learning how to work like a team. With that being said, I'm hoping that these little low meta guides are helping you people in the low meta, and that you guys are using it to go and get better as we play through Season 6. This is DM saying goodnight, everyone, and peace.
I'm you assuming I'm a human. What I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm superhuman, innovative, and I made a rubber so that anything you say is ricocheting off of me and it'll glue to you and devastating more than ever demonstrated.